So a couple of years back, a surgery forced me out of acting for 6 months. It was not a choice I made, a back that gave out. An operation, 6 months on the shelf. Those 6 months cost me a full year to climb back. A year, and I'm going to tell you exactly why that happened, because it is the thing that nobody warned you about when you decide to step away for a while. When acting stops being fun, the smart move is to step away and come back when I'm ready. Really? And we believe that. Okay, before I say one word about this, I owe you a confession. I could quit acting today, walk away this afternoon, and my standard of living wouldn't move 1 inch. I don't need this to pay a single bill. And before that lands wrong, let me tell you what that freedom actually cost. I'm not free because I'm clever or because I won some lottery. I'm free because I finished 2 entire careers before I ever stepped in front of a camera. 20 years in the Navy, another 20-something after that. I came home from the service carrying disabilities I still carry today. And part of what I live on is a survivor's benefit because I lost my wife in a motorcycle accident. That's the ledger. That's the actual price of my cushion. I missed 41 years of this to pay for it, and I would not sell you that trade for anything on earth. So here's why I'm telling you now. When I say I don't care whether you quit acting, I mean that in the most freeing way. I have no stake in your choice. I am not the coach who needs you to stay enrolled. I am not selling you never give up. I genuinely do not have a horse in this race. And I'll go even one uglier than that, because it's true, my interest actually runs the other way. Every actor in my lane, my age, my type, who walks away is one less person standing between me and a role. If I were playing this selfish, I'd be holding the door open for you, wishing you well on your way out. So hear me on this. When I tell you not to drift out of this by accident, I'm arguing flat against my own bottom line. That is how much I mean it, which is the exact reason you can trust the thing I'm getting ready to tell you. If you do decide to step away from this industry, do it on purpose, not by accident. Now, let's talk about the difference because it's everything. Let's get one thing straight right up front. I am not here to bust rest. Rest is real. Burnout is real. If you are genuinely fried, stepping back for a while can be exactly the right, healthy, grown-up thing to do. I would never stand here and tell a worn-out human being to just power through. That's not this. Nobody's getting shamed for needing a breather. So what are we busting? One very specific move. Not the break itself, the shape of the break. Because there are two completely different things hiding under the same word. There's a break with a way back in, and there's a break without one. A break with a return date, that's rest. I'm taking the holidays off. I'm back January 2nd. That's a plan. You know where the door is. You know when you're walking back through it. And you go recharge with a clear conscience. That's good. Do that. But I'll come back when I'm ready. That one, that has no door, no date, no way back marked on any calendar. And that's not rest. That's an exit. It's just an exit in slow motion. And the cruel part is you never actually decide to take it. You thought you were pausing. Well, let me show you why that specific version is a trap. The problem with I'll come back when I'm ready. You've made your whole return depend on a feeling. And you've given that feeling the keys to everything. So ask the obvious question. Where's that feeling supposed to come from? What exactly is going to generate it? You're off the tapes, you're off the sets, you're not in a room, not in a scene, not near the thing that used to light you up. Readiness isn't a package that shows up on your porch. It grows out of doing the thing, and you stop doing the thing. Now, one honest fork in the road, because it matters, everything I'm telling you assumes this lit you up once, that there's real fire here, that just got buried under all the other stuff. But if I'm being straight with you, if it never lit you up, if there was never a spark and you're honestly just here chasing a paycheck, then maybe stepping away is the right call. And I'd be the last guy on earth to stop you because money is about the worst reason there is to be in this. Getting rich at this is basically lottery odds. And even just paying your bills with it is something most people who try never manage. If the love was never there, walk with my blessing. That's an honest quit, and I respect it, but that is not who this episode is for. This one's for the person who did love it and is quietly drifting away from something they actually want. If you've been following this series, you've heard me say a version of this a couple times now. You're waiting on a verdict that never gets delivered. Waiting to feel ready is the exact same trap as waiting to look ready or waiting for somebody to tell you you're finally good enough. The letter doesn't come, nobody sends it. And it gets worse the longer you wait, not better, because every month you're out, that door gets a little heavier to push back open. The momentum cools, the habits fade, so the readiness you're waiting for gets less likely to show up over time, not more. You're standing outside a door that's slowly locking, waiting for a feeling that only exists on the other side of it. That's not patience, that's a slow drift with a comforting story wrapped around it. And you want to know what this actually looks like out in the wild? Not a statistic, just something I see all the time. Scroll any actors forum, any group, and you'll find some version of this post over and over. I stepped away from acting about 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. I really want to get back into it now. How do I even start again? Listen to that carefully because it's this whole episode in one sentence. Nobody ever posts, I took a planned 6-month break and came back right on schedule, feeling great. Of course they don't. That person just came back. No drama, no post. The posts you see are the other kind, the open-ended break. Finally looking in the mirror, how do I get back in, is what I'll return when I'm ready turns into after enough time. And I'll be straight with you because I promised I've got no reason to sugarcoat it. Right now is a genuinely tough moment to come back cold. Productions have dropped off across the board. A lot of the work moved overseas. Some of it just couldn't get funded. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because the thing about an open-ended break is you don't get to pick the market you come back to. You left in one world and you re-enter whatever world happens to be there when you're ready. Which might be a much harder one than the one you left. But the market's honestly the smaller cost. The bigger one is the thing you don't think about until it's gone. Momentum. This whole business runs on being seen and seen regularly. Casting directors, producers, they hire out of the pool of people they remember, and memory in this industry is short, and it runs on repetition. Every time you're in front of them, a tape, a callback, a room, you're topping off a little meter that says, this one's active, this one's around, this one's a known quantity. That meter is your momentum, and the day you step away, it starts to drain. Not because anybody's mad at you, because the actor who taped for them last week is just easier to remember than the one who was around a couple years back. And I know this one from the inside, not from a textbook. That surgery I told you about up top, and yeah, it traced back to one of those service injuries I carry. Let me show you what it actually did to my career. Before it, I was auditioning 4-5 times a week, booking something every couple months. After those 6 months out, my auditions dropped to maybe 1 a week, if I was lucky. And I booked nothing for a solid year. A year, just to start climbing back toward where I'd already been. And I want you to sit with this part because it's the whole point. That was a break I did not choose. It got forced on me by a surgeon, and it still cost me all of that. So imagine what an open-ended one, the kind you gently talk yourself into, does to that exact same meter. And honestly, I'm still not all the way back, but part of that's the contraction we just talked about. 4 or 5 auditions a week is more like 1 or 2 for everybody right now. But if you stay out long enough and you don't come back as the actor they know, you come back as a stranger who used to be a familiar. And rebuilding that from zero is a whole lot harder than it ever would have been to just keep it warm. So let's talk about why the joy drained out. Because a lot of people get the diagnosis wrong, and a wrong diagnosis gets you a cure that doesn't work. You feel wrung out, and the acting is the thing right in front of you. So you blame the acting. It makes sense, right? But think about what's actually sitting on your shoulders. Money pressure, a market that's been brutal, the general weight of, like everything right now. Most of that has nothing to do with the craft itself. The craft is just the thing you were doing while you carried all the rest of it. The trap in the take a break cure is a break removes the acting from your week. It does not remove one single one of those other weights. The rent is still due. The world's still heavy. The market's still the market. You stop taping, you stop going in, and 3 months later, you feel pretty much the same because none of the actual source of the pressure went anywhere. You just subtracted the one part that was arguably feeding you. If you blame a structural problem on the craft, you'll prescribe yourself a break and then be honestly confused when the break doesn't fix it. It was never going to. You treated the wrong patient. And here's the deeper one that almost nobody says out loud. Burnout in actors almost never comes from doing too much acting. It comes from acting for the wrong reasons. Somewhere along the way, the thing you did for love quietly hooked itself to something else, to how you're being perceived, to whether you're booking, to your ranking against every other actor. You can see your sense of who you are got welded to an external scoreboard. And the second that happens, the joy leaks right out. Not because you're doing too much, because you stopped doing it for the reason you started. And that's not an overwork problem, and you can't rest it off. Take 6 months away from a scoreboard you carry in your own head, and guess what's waiting for you when you come back? The same scoreboard. The fix isn't less acting. It's changing what acting means to you again, and a big piece of that, honestly, is comparison. Comparison is a trap. It'll steal the joy out of good work faster than anything I know. So put the scoreboard down and strip out the torment that got added to this. The 2 a.m. spiral, the measuring, the story that every no is a verdict on your soul. Do the work. Do it well. Then close the laptop and go have dinner with somebody you love. The craft was never the thing burning you out. The torment wrapped around it was. If the answer isn't quitting and it isn't white-knuckling through the misery either, well, what is it? There's a third door. It's not quit and it's not grind. It's downshift. Stay in, just smaller. You do not have to choose between full throttle and gone. You can lower the volume, take fewer things or easier things, or just the ones that actually sound fun again. Drop the specific part that curdled, the auditions you dreaded, the type of work that drained you, and keep the part you still like. Keep 1 foot in the water, because a person with 1 foot in is a completely different animal from a person who climbed out and walked away. You stay reachable. Your relationships stay warm. Your momentum idles instead of dying. And most importantly, you're still standing there when it turns. And it does turn. This industry moves in cycles. It always has. The market that's tight today loosens up eventually. The work comes back. And when it does, the people who kept 1 foot in are right there. The people who took the open-ended break are still trying to figure out how to get back in the door. I mean, rest if you need to. Rest, please. Just don't confuse resting with vanishing. So here's where this lands. Rest is real, and you're allowed to take it. Nobody's shaming you for being tired. But there's a world of difference between a break with a door and a break without one. One is rest, the other is a slow exit you never actually chose. And whatever drained the joy out of this, disappearing doesn't fix it. It just runs your meter down while you're gone. You fix it by changing what you're doing and why, while you're still in the room. I told you at the top, I don't need this. That's true, at least not financially. But you know what? I'm still here, still taping, still showing up, still doing the work at nearly 66 years old with nothing forcing me to. Not because I have to, because I changed what it means to me, because it feeds my soul in a way no other work ever has. You could do the exact same thing, and you don't have to wait 41 years to start. Stop treating burnout like a signal to quit and start treating it like a signal to change how you're doing things. Hey, you want Start Where You Are for free? The link's in the description. New myths every week. See you in the next one.